everybody. Welcome to our virtual program, Society of Illustrators Saturday Stories. I'm Claire Pernice, and I am so delighted this morning to introduce you to Felicita Sala, who's joining us from Rome, Italy. And she is our Gold Medal Award winner for our Original Art Show 2023, which is currently on exhibition at the Society. So if you are in the New York area, please do come to the Society and check out all the beautiful illustrations. We have more than 200 featured illustrators. They have all been selected by a professional jury. We receive hundreds of submissions, and art directors and editors and award-winning illustrators are the jury who look at all the work, and they select the best of the best. We have 4 medalists, and Felicita is the award winner for this beautiful book, As Night Falls, Creatures Who Go Wild After Dark. It's written by Donna Jo Napoli, illustrated by Felicita Sala. And this is the most vibrant, fun, amazing illustrated book. And Felicita is a traditional artist. She works in watercolors and colored pencils. And she's going to do some artwork with us this morning. And I hope you have some art materials ready. You'll be needing some colored pencils or something to color with. Maybe you have some colored paper, scissors, and glue stick. Either way, you can color on white paper if you have that. If you have some colored paper, you can use that. She's going to do a lovely live drawing with us after her presentation. And just before we get started, I wanted to tell you about 3 other shows that are on at the Society of Illustrators. So as I mentioned, we have the Original Art, which is the best picture book illustrations of 2023. Do check that out. And then also we have on our 2nd floor, the Members Show, which shows work in progress. So it's very interesting to see that show. It's in our Red Gallery, and you can see how illustrators start all their thumbnails and sketches before they do the original final piece. And we also have our first Society of Illustrators Kids student show, and that's called How to Draw Your Dragon, where we featured 12 illustrators, students who are aged between 8 and 14, who have joined us from Zoom across the country and even in other parts of the world for our Zoom after school program. And we're very excited to showcase that show. If you love dragons, check that out. And then upstairs in our 3rd garden gallery, we have the beautiful Italian illustrations from the works of Italo Calvino. And this is a selection of beautiful Italian illustrations, so you can check that out as well. And so more about Felicita Sala. She grew up in Australia, though was born in Italy. So she's bilingual. She speaks Italian fluently as well as English fluently. She grew up by the ocean in Australia and now lives in Rome with her family. She has 2 daughters and lives there with her husband, and is making beautiful books. Let me tell you how gorgeous her books are. So just check out her website and you can see all the books that she has done. Some of them have been illustrated and written by some other authors, such as this book. And then she has actually written and illustrated her own books. One is called, what is it called? I've forgotten it. It's something about Flowerville, right?
Oh yes, it's there's 2 books. There's
2, right?
In America it's called What's Cooking at Garden Street, and then the follow-up to that was A Year in Flowerville. Yeah, they yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at quite a few things in Italian. I suddenly had a
yeah.
Anyway, do check out the beautiful illustrations in those books as well. And so without further ado, we'll go over to, oh, you know what, before I do that, I always do this, I forget a couple of things. Felicita also won the Primo Anderson Award in 2020. She's been awarded that as the best illustrator of children's books in Italy. So it's a very, very honoring award and well deserved. So I wanted to mention that. She's been also named, this book has been named one of the best illustrated picture books by the New York Times and the New York Public Library. So congratulations for that. So we're really delighted to have Felicita here, and please do ask your questions. That's what I always like to remind you. Do ask some questions. Let us know where you're joining from. We love to say hello in the chat. You can ask your questions in the Q&A or in the chat, and I will filter those questions during the workshop portion. So, and we also love to see any illustrations that you do during the workshop, or if you do them later, do send them to my email. Tim, who's behind the scenes, will put my email into the chat, and also he'll put Felicita's website, so you can see that in the chat as well. So I look forward to hearing from you throughout the morning. And now, without further ado, over to you, Felicita. Thank you for joining us.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone. So I'm Felicita, and it's very nice to meet you, although I can't see you. I wish I could see you all. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about what I do, what my job is. So I make picture books, and behind me you can see my daughter Nina, who's working on her homework right now, and trying to get the cat to sit still. So I make picture books, and sometimes, very rarely, I write my own picture books, but I mostly illustrate other people's stories. And this book that won this award, As Night Falls, was written by Donna Jo Napoli. And before I start the presentation, I want to tell you a little bit about this book. So this book was really, really hard to make for me. I had a real struggle making it, because I didn't know how to draw the pictures for the story. You know, sometimes people tell you a story, and while they're telling you the story, you imagine the pictures, you know, like fairy tales or animals doing things, definitely around, you have the pictures clear. But sometimes stories are like poems, and they're very hard to illustrate. This one was very hard to illustrate because it did talk about animals, but I couldn't just draw animals sitting there or eating each other. It had to be done in a certain way, and I didn't know how to do it. So there was a lot of sketching and a lot of research. I'll tell you what, I'm going to share my screen. I'll show you some of it. It's all a bit, let's see if I can find, clicking. You be patient with me. I'm not very good with technology.
Oh, that's okay. We understand.
You're
a traditional artist.
Yes, I just want to show you some studies for this book. So I started by drawing the animals, starting from the dinoflagellates and the copepods and the goby fish. I just drew them from like images I found on the internet of these animals to see what they look like and to see how I could draw them. So they're very rough sketches, you see.
Yes. Yes, it's quite science-based, wasn't it? The book was quite science-based, so you had to look at, I would imagine, a lot of research. But
yes, because it is. Yeah, that's right. It's real animals that we're drawing. But as you will see when I read you the book, the way I ended up drawing them was very different from how they look in real life. This is the eagle owl.
They're beautiful.
Tiger. I tried different techniques for the tiger. This is ink, some watercolors. And then I tried being a bit more free with pencils. You know, I was trying different things. These are some more studies. There we go. This was for the opening spread. I didn't know how to illustrate those first lines. They talk about the night cooling and the earth settling, and I didn't know how to show that. Like, how do you show the winds cooling and the earth settling? You know, that was the hardest spread I had to work on. I thought about the clovers blooming in the night, and I thought about drawing something like this, but then I thought how boring this would be for someone who opens the book and reads these lines and then just sees exactly what the text says. Yeah. And so then what happened is I found an old sketchbook, which is this little picture at the top where I had drawn this blue city. And I thought, wow, that really makes me feel like the wind has settled and the city is calm and the place is, everything's calm. And I thought, why don't I do that for the first spread? And I did a test. This is a test that I made at the bottom. And I thought, I think that really works. And then I could do a river running through the city, and then we could like zoom in on the river and start looking at the tiny animals in the water and then go from there. So this old sketchbook is what gave me the idea pretty much for the whole book. Then I did some sketches for the children, and I thought, I don't know, maybe they're a bit freaky, these ones, a bit So that they didn't go in. Then I played with ink, and I was looking at the kids' eyes and thinking maybe the little animals will start coming out from there. You know, these are all ideas. And some more sketches. And then I really started having fun with colors. And this is really the key to the whole book, is having fun with colors and going a little wild like the animals.
Yes, you did it.
And so if for anyone who's interested, I used, basically, I always start with a base of watercolor. And then I used gouache, which is similar to watercolor, but it'd be more dense in color. And then I use colored pencils. And then my favorite is crayons or oil pastels. Here at the top, you can see. And then I really want to work with bright, bold colors, so the animals seem like they're popping off the page. And here's some more sketches. And I know the eagle owl is not normally white, but I really wanted him to contrast with the other colors, so I decided he would be a white eagle owl. I took that liberty, so artistic
license. Yes,
that's the artistic license. Okay, let's go down to, come on, mate, you can do it. Okay, so this one, I just want to show you some. So while I talk, you can look at something that's not just me talking, that's a bit boring. View, full screen mode. Okay. Okay, so this is so this is just I just wanted to, so this is me up at the top left, and this is me as a kid. So when I was the age of a lot of people looking at this presentation, I suppose. So I really like to read, and I really like to read comics. I had this comic book here in Italy that had this this character, this pink rabbit that I really loved, called Pinky. He was my favorite little comic to read as a kid. I loved Richard Scarry books. I love looking at all the details, everybody doing stuff. You probably, some of you might have Richard Scarry books. He still publishes a lot of books till today. One of the most famous illustrators in the world. And then I really loved fairy tales. So this one at the top was a series of illustrated fairy tales that I had with a like audio cassette. So I would listen to the fairy tale and then flick the pages and follow the story. Like I would read and listen. And I really loved this kind of like old illustrations of really, really detailed characters. So that's what I kind of grew up with, some of the things I grew up with. This is me on my first day of school when I moved to Australia. So I moved to Australia when I was 7 years old. And in this photo, this was my first day of school. I didn't speak a word of English. So I went to school and I was kind of thrown into this class, and I only spoke Italian. And the children around me were interested in the new kid who didn't speak in English. So they kind of started speaking really slow, and they would show me things. And I don't know what happened, but after 6 months, I was speaking English with an Australian accent. So that's how awesome kids are. They, you know, if any of you are learning languages, you know, use this time that when you're young, because you can learn really quickly. And I'm just skipping ahead, just some random things while I'm talking. Then I didn't know I wanted to become an illustrator until like I was quite old. So I went to school, then I went to university, I studied philosophy, which I'm not going to explain, it's just going to take too long. You can ask your parents what philosophy is, but I studied something that had pretty much nothing to do with illustration. And then when I left university, I was traveling around Europe, and I met some illustrators, and I met people who do this as a job, and I thought, wow, you can make this, you can make art as a living, and you can work with stories, which is what I was really passionate about since I was a kid. So I thought I want to do that, but I didn't know how do you become an illustrator? I didn't go to art school, I didn't study to become an illustrator. So I thought I'll just do, you know, what comes now. I'll just make paintings and pictures, I'll sell them, and then maybe I'll try and get publishers to see what I do. So this is a series of work from when I was in my early 20s, and I was selling pictures on the street and also on the internet just to people. And then I was sketching different things in my sketchbook. And they're all very different from each other because I was trying to figure out my style. So if a lot of you are worried that, you know, you're not good at drawing, or you're not as good as this person or that person. You know, it's normal. I went through that as well, and you figure it out as you go along. You just keep drawing, you keep looking at pictures in picture books. You know, you're never too old to look at picture books, and keep drawing, because eventually, as you draw, you figure out what you like to draw, and what you like to draw is often what you're good at drawing as well. So you work on that, and you figure out what you're good at and what comes out well, and then your style kind of comes out. But sometimes it takes many years for your style to come out. Some people have it straight away since they're kids, and then they grow old and they're kind of really good at drawing certain things, and they do them in really similar ways. And some people, they change a lot here and there, they draw different things, and then they figure it out much later. This is something that was part of my artistic process, was working on animations with my husband, Gianluca. So my husband is Gianluca Marbotti. He's an animator. So he makes stop motion videos, and he works using plasticine. So he makes his own illustrations and animations. But we happened to work on a few stop motion videos together, where I did the drawings and the puppets and cut them out, and he animated them. So this video is called Paper Plane, and you can find it on YouTube or on Vimeo. If you look for my name and Paper Plane, you can find this video. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool song, and it's pretty cool animation. And this is me working on cutting out all the different parts. This is something from my time in Australia growing up. Some of the books I used to read that I loved. I loved the Grain-based books. I loved reading the Babysitter's Club. This is more for my animation work with Gianluca. This was some kind of knights battling, and there's pieces coming off, and it was really fun. And I worked a lot with oil crayons here. So every time I worked on something, I learned something new about the material that I was using. I'd never used oil pastels before. And then it wasn't until 10 years later that I used oil pastels in this book. This is the first kind of picture book that I ever made. It was called My Father is a Polar Bear. And it was a very small book, probably for like 8 to 12 years old is the age group for this book. And I used a lot of colored pencils in this book, and I found out that I really like to color in with colored pencils. And this is another book. This is a book for those people who think they can't draw. It's a very fun story written by Adam Lehopt, and he wrote a book about a kid who is not good at drawing, or thinks he's not good at drawing, because, you know, you might think you're not good at drawing, but other people might really like your drawings. But he decides that he really likes to color in, and which is also what I love to do. I love to just color in sometimes without drawing anything. So this is my first kind of proper picture book. The first one was more of like a chapter book. This is the first picture book I worked on, and it was really fun to make. This is another book I made about a chef who they say invented potato chips, and it was a really fun story to work on. And I really like working on stories that have to do with food, because I really love eating and cooking, and I like drawing food. And I don't think I have pictures of, these are just some more illustrations from other books. This is a book I worked on with an Italian publisher that has never been published in English, but I like this picture because I like working with this boy. It was a story of a boy who's very lonely, and his dad won't let him go out and play, but then he meets a girl, and they somehow meet and they become friends, and it's just a really sweet story. And I like, you see how I've always loved to draw these little houses and cities. It's a kind of recurring theme. This is a book where I learned a lot about using blacks and whites. So this is a book called She Made a Monster, How Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein. I can't even remember the title. Anyway, it's a book about Mary Shelley, who was an 18-year-old girl who wrote the story of Frankenstein. Maybe you guys have heard of Frankenstein. Halloween's just come by, but maybe some of you don't know that Frankenstein was written by an 18-year-old girl. One night, as a dare, there was a group of friends together in a house one summer, and they dared each other to write scary stories, and she came up with absolutely the best one. So this is a picture from a book about that night, about Mary thinking about scary stories, thinking about monsters. And this is one of my favorite illustrations from that book. It was very fun to make. And this is a completely different illustration from a book called Green on Green, written by Diane White, where I had a lot of fun with flowers and nature and bright colors. And this is another, I'm just giving you a range of things that I've done. This is a book from possibly one of my favorite stories that I've ever illustrated. It's called The Hideout, and it's a story written by my dear friend Susanna Mattiangeli, who's an Italian writer. She's one of the best writers in Italy. She also won a very important prize, and she's the children's laureate from Italy. And she wrote this story about a girl who disappears, and she lives in the wilderness with a strange creature. And then she also really likes to draw, but I'm not going to tell you anything else in case you want to read this story, because it's brilliant. And this was published with Abrams in the US. It's called The Hideout. And for any of you who like kind of secret adventures and weird animals, this is the book for you. Finally, I think we're getting to the end of my, oops, my screen just went weird. Okay, so this is a series that I worked on in the last few years called, the first book is called Your Birthday Was the Best, and it's published in the North America by Tundra. And it's a book I made initially with an Australian publisher, an Australian writer. And it's really, I mean, it starts off as an Australian story, but it's really for anyone, especially those who live maybe in contact with cockroaches, maybe in big cities or in the countryside. So in Australia, we have these really big cockroaches that kind of waddle into your house like unannounced and unwelcome. And they're really like iconic, I suppose, the Australian cockroach, because they just, I mean, they really freak you out. They really freak me out. But this story is about a cockroach who invites himself to a birthday party, and he thinks he's friends with the birthday boy, and so he follows him everywhere, plays in all the games. But then when the boy realizes the cockroach is there, he just freaks out. But the cockroach keeps thinking that he's just happy to see him. So it's very funny. And I think this is the second book in the story, in the series. It's a series of 3. I've just finished the third book. This is called Your School is the Best. And the cockroach follows the boy to school with all his cousins and 2 other people, 2 other cockroaches, and they end up eating the crayons and making a big rainbow poo, and it's just super fun. Oh, there they are. So these are my 2 recipe books that I made. So you can't tell they're recipe books. They're like secret recipe books, because the cover, you just see people in the first book in an apartment building, and in the second book they're just on the rooftop. But when you open the book, there's a kind of story, and then there's also recipes that you can actually make. And these are the first 2 books that I wrote myself, and they were really fun to make. And they were published in France originally with a French publisher. It was actually the French publisher who said, "Why don't you make your own recipe books?" And I thought, maybe I should. And then they were translated in many different languages. And in North America, they're called What's Cooking at 10 Garden Street. They changed the name. And then a year in Flowerville, they changed that name too. And these are some of the spreads from the first book. So you'll have the person on the left cooking, and then what they're cooking on the right. So there's a few pages like that. And then they all end up eating together at the end.
Yeah, so beautiful.
It's just one of my favorite things, is like cooking and eating, but also with other people. It's so much more fun than just cooking and eating on your own. You know, like when you're sharing.
It's so known for wonderful food.
Yeah, that's it. And this is a book, another book I made about trees. This is called Be a Tree.
Oh, I love that book. Yeah.
And I got to draw lots and lots of different types of trees, and this is one of my favorite trees. There's a lot of these kinds of trees in Australia, and I mean, they're not this big. I kind of exaggerated it a little bit, but it just makes you want to climb on top and play hide and seek. This is a tree was inspired. This is a Moreton Bay fig in Perth. This is me and my daughter.
Wow. Look at the roots. Wow.
Yeah, I love those, like snakes. There's lots of these trees. I mean, you can find them all over the world in certain climates, but there's the ones that I know.
Yeah, that's your books are wonderful. Everybody, check out her website, Felicita's website, because you'll see the books, you'll see the videos. Actually, you have some links to some of your animations as well.
Yes, exactly. You can just go felicitasala.com and you'll see all the books that I've published. Some of them may have different names in different regions, but I mean, you get the drift.
Yeah.
If you go to the bookstore online, yeah, exactly. And you can find, the version of that book in the particular country. Not all of them have been translated, but some of them have. So I want to end the presentation on this page. So this is the top one is an illustration I made in, I think it was 2010, possibly. So when I was just starting out as an illustrator, and I had no idea what I was doing and how to use watercolors, how to use certain materials. I didn't know how to make books. I didn't know how to tell stories. I just knew that I wanted to be an illustrator. And this is about 13 years later. This is the page from the book that we're going to read soon, just to show you what's going on. Just to show you how much, style changes over time, and, how much if you keep at it. I'm not saying that one is bad and one is good. I'm just saying, you grow and you change and you figure things out, and this is me figuring things out in 2 different cities. And that's my presentation. I hope
so we're getting some questions, but I'll let you get started and then I'll ask some questions. So yeah, do ask questions, everybody. I'm going to let Felicita just get ready, and she's going to start sharing. So if you've got your art materials ready, I've got a few things myself.
Okay, so we're now you're looking at my desk, is that it?
Yeah, perfect.
I've got my webcam, my phone cam.
Perfect. Yeah,
okay.
Lovely.
My hands. Okay, awesome. Okay, so we're going to be doing a little crafty activity. We're going to be now, I don't know if you kids remember or have seen that book. I don't know why she swallowed a fly. I mean, it's a famous rhyme poem thing, and there's various versions of that book, but it's about a fly that gets swallowed by a spider and then gets swallowed by a bird, and so you have an animal inside an animal, like a Russian doll. So we're going to do something like that, inspired by the book that I illustrated. So I have some paper here, just normal paper from the printer, just A4 paper. But if you want, you can also use some colored card. And I have bits and pieces of colored paper here that we can use. But yeah, I borrowed from my daughter, but we can just use white paper. Can I use a little bit of it, Nina? Is it okay? Just a tiny piece? Okay.
Permission granted. Yay.
Okay. Not bad. Okay.
So everyone, as you know, we have this live on our YouTube channel a little bit later in the month. And if you want to revisit, you can gather some other materials to try things out. So this morning we'll see both versions, a little bit of cut paper and then also how you can just do it with regular white paper.
That's it. So I'm just going to use, what am I going to use? I'm just going to use a white paper as a base. Okay, so we're going to start with a little, so I have my pencils here, my sharpener. This is what I do all day, just sharpen pencils.
And it's a handheld one, not an electric one.
No, I have an electric one, but it just ran out of batteries. I lost the charger, and it's just sitting there gathering dust. I wish I had one of those. There's a wonderful video of Roald Dahl online, sitting in his hut, and what he does. I don't know if you know it. Do you know this one?
Oh, I totally know it. He actually he actually lived in the town near where I grew up. So I know all about his hut and his favorite pencil and his favorite writing pad.
Yes, that's right. And he sharpens 6 pencils at the beginning of each day with this wonderful sharpener, and he has them like nice and sharp sitting on his desk, and then he starts his work. Like he's gonna have everything perfect. Yeah, I think I need one of those. Anyway, so we're going to do just in a little corner of the page, we're going to draw a fly. We're going to start with a fly in honor of that famous poem, The Lady Who Swallowed the Fly. And I'm going to just draw a little black body, and then a little head with eyes, and then some wings, and then maybe some little feet coming out. I don't even know if a fly has other things, but anyway, that's my fly. We're going to start off really small because then we need to do some animals around it. So I'm going to cut out this little fly. It doesn't have to be, we don't have to go around the pencil, just leave a little bit of space. Okay. And I'm just going to put it here to the side, hoping it won't fly away. Now this fly is going to get eaten by a spider. And for the spider, I'm going to use some black paper, but you can just keep using the white paper and just draw it in and color it in, okay? So because the paper is black, I'm just going to actually use, let's see, I'm going to use a light cut, like a white pencil. But if you're using white paper, you're going to use a black pencil or whatever, you know, you can make a purple spider. You can do whatever spider you want. You see how I use lots of different colors in my book? Yeah. You can use whatever colors you want for these animals. They don't have to be real colors of animals. So I'm going to do, okay, so wait, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put the fly there, and then I'm going to draw a circle around it. Okay, and maybe we'll give this spider a little head as well with like 3 eyes. And I'm going to cut that out. Cut it out like this. And then make it a little bit nicer, this one. Just because we need extra space. So maybe you've got like you've just colored it. You can color it all in your favorite color. Like it can be a red spider, it can be, you know, whatever color you want. And he doesn't have legs, but he will have legs in a little bit. Okay, we're just going to have the body of the spider, and then we're going to glue. We're going to glue the fly inside the spider. Okay, so that's 2 animals. So we'll just leave the spider legs for now. I know you're anxious to draw the legs, but be patient. Then we're going to get, if you want, either different colored card, or you can just keep working on the white paper. It doesn't matter. I'm going to get blue, and I'm going to do a fish. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to draw, I'm going to put the spider in the middle and just draw around fish. Okay. Now this fish, I'm going to use some more blues. Maybe color it in a bit. Just because I want to color it in. Maybe I'll color in the tail. And do some scales.
So we have some questions, so I'll just ask you one right now. Sure. So one of the attendees is first of all saying, they can't believe you're a self-taught. I agree, you're just so amazing and totally award-winning. You know, it's like self-taught and award-winning. Just goes to show you that you can develop your own style by practicing by yourself. But the question is, what might you recommend that someone would do to keep learning and improving as an artist? So,
well, like a lot of people say this, a lot of other illustrators say this, and I think it's probably the best advice is keep a sketchbook where you just play and experiment. And by play, I mean really muck around with whatever material you have. Maybe you have some old crusty watercolors that don't work for it. Doesn't matter. I think the cheaper and worse the material is, the more you get to play, because you're not worried about like wasting it or using up those special colors that were so expensive. You know, just playing and mixing things together and drawing, and, you know, not worrying about, is it coming out well? Is it not coming out well? Just playing. And then this sketchbook is something that you make a point in your mind not to show not to show anyone. You can show your mum and dad or your cousins or your friends or whoever, but you're not going to make a big spectacle out of it. Like, you're not drawing something for people to see. You're drawing something for you to have fun, right? And this is something that is true for us, like grown-up illustrators as well. Sometimes we worry too much about the things we make, about what people are going to think about them. Are they good enough? And then we forget to play. We become a bit too serious. And when you become a bit too serious, that's not good for making art. Like, you need to play. So that's my advice. Keep a sketchbook and play.
So good.
Yeah. So this is where this is where, so maybe you can't see it, but this is where I get to do the legs. I haven't really left much space, so I'm going to have to like 1, 2. So they got 8 legs, spiders do. Don't forget. So I'm going to do the legs with my black pencil directly onto the fish. Okay, so now we've got the fish who's eaten the spider, who's eaten the, let's see if we can pull it up close to the camera. There you go. Okay, so next animal is the snake. So for the snake, I'm going to use yellow. Now, okay, yellow. And you want to come and help Nina? Are you just taking one of my, Nina likes to come and steal things from my desk.
He's got some good materials there.
I like, there's something that keeps disappearing from my desk, is just plain simple like pencils. Like I buy I don't know, like hundreds of these every month, and they just disappear, and then I don't know where they go. It's a mystery. They just disappear
like socks.
I think it's the cat. I think the cat steals them. He has a secret place for them. Okay. All right, the snake, I'm going to do like a curled up snake. So something like, I'm just going to do like a wobbly kind of avocado shape. And I'm going to do, maybe I'll use green for like a kind of olive green. So again, you can just keep using your white paper, and you can like paint it yellow. You can do a big spot of yellow and then like wait for it to dry. Or you can use a hairdryer. This is what I use. It's one of my handy tools is a hairdryer, because when you work with watercolors, you have to wait for them to dry completely before you go over them with the pencils. So I have to speed that up. Otherwise, I'm just kind of sitting here waiting. Yeah. So I'm going to start with the head, and we'll give him some
Do you just have all kinds of different brands of pencils? You don't have necessarily favorite ones?
Yeah, oh no, I do have my favorites. I do.
Okay.
And they are my favorite pencils are called Luminance, and they are by a French brand called Caran d'Ache. And these are the Swiss made, it says right here.
Yep.
And these are like the Ferraris of colored pencils, like in terms of price. So they're super expensive, they're super high quality, they're super soft. So they'll just be very kind of,
oh yes, they look beautiful
and very soft, and the color's very bright. They have a high pigment. I don't buy a box of them. I buy them like slowly, like 2 at a time. I started out with 1 and 2, and then then you have your favorite colors you keep buying. But then once you start using these, you can't just go back to
Can't go back.
I'm using these pencils, really. I mean, that's where all my money goes, is buying these pencils, and then going to visit my family in Australia. That's it. That's where it all goes.
Well, yes, quite a difference in pricing. Flying to
it's not much. No, I'm joking.
You could get a lot of pencils, right?
I mean, they're very close up there with the price range. Like tickets to Australia, Caran d'Ache pencils.
Okay. Yeah, I have Faber-Castell ones. Those are very nice as well.
Yes. So these ones are the other ones I use, and these are really great pencils. It's not zooming. It says Faber-Castell.
Yeah, I have the Faber-Castell.
Yes.
Also Prismacolor pencils are good, everybody. So
yes.
Just experiment. Go to an art supply store or a craft store and start picking up a few pencils. Really very transportable as well, these types of art materials. So you can bring them with you when you go on a trip with your sketchbook. Let me see if I've got another question here. I think I saw one in the chat. Sherry says, I have the same pencil sharpener. Well, that's great.
Yes, great pencil sharpener. It's Faber-Castell.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's a good pencil sharpener.
Good. It's got 3 little pockets. You can empty it out. It's good to carry around. So I'm just decorating this snake, but you can just, you can do this later. I think we'll just leave him here because there's otherwise it'll just take up too much time. Maybe I'll give him some red eyes.
I'm curious to know how many animals we're going to get to. Actually, I just asked this question. Jan asked, curious about how you make the color splashes in the illustrations, and could you also tell us how you make a dark background and then make animals show up on top of the dark? Well, we're sort of seeing a bit of that sort of now. So Jan asked that question actually just before.
The dark background. So the dark background and the animals. So I always leave. So what I'll do is this. I'll just say that's the animal is. That's the animal on the page. I'll draw him in a thin outline, and then I'll do a wash of watercolor around the animal like this, and leave the animal empty. And then I'll paint that area around the animal maybe a few times until I get the shade that I want, and then sometimes I'll go over it with colored pencils. So there's a different layering, and then I might color in the animal later with a lighter color. But the point is to create contrast. So the more you leave the white space white, the more the animal is going to pop out. But then if I use like a bright red color inside, then it's going to pop out anyway. Right. But not as much as it would pop out if it was just completely white. So then I need to make the background darker so that the red can stick out more. You know what I mean?
Perfect. Yeah, that's great.
But that's how I make the background. I just play around. It's stuff I figured out by making stuff. So when I make stuff, I figure out how it works. And a lot of the figuring out happens by making mistakes. And I see a lot of kids when they make mistakes, in workshops or they make mistakes and they get really grumpy about it. They're like, I'm not doing this anymore. It's just horrible. I'm no good. They have a cry about it and they just give up. And a word of comfort is that I also have a cry about it when I make mistakes. I've had many cries about my mistakes, especially when I've spent like 3 days working on a big double spread for a book, and I've got a timeline and I have to finish the book by a certain, and I know that I have to finish that illustration so I can start the next one, and that I can feel that the illustration's not coming out very well. And then I just keep layering over it, hoping that it might be fixed, and then it doesn't, and then I have to throw that out.
Oh la la. See, that's the difference of being a traditional illustrator or a digital illustrator.
Yeah.
It's the one little luxury of digital art that you can.
I mean, to be honest, I don't often throw things out. Like, I often keep them as a reminder of like a lesson in humility. Like, you're not that great, you make a lot of mistakes, and that's good. Or I keep it as a reminder of like, this is part of the process. This was part of the battle of making this book, because every book is a bit of a battle, and that's how it should be. Because otherwise, I mean, if it's all kind of easy and happy-go-lucky, then I don't know, maybe the book's not as great as it could be. I don't know. But it's okay to have a cry, but then you got to pick yourself up and keep going. And you can like scrunch that up and throw it away and start a new one, or you can try and keep going on those mistakes and see if you can turn them into something better. And sometimes you can do that.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Oh, we're like, keep going. Okay, so no, we're almost there. Like, what's the next animal? It's going to be the owl. And for the owl, I want to use the white. I'm going to use the white for the owl. I'm going to, let's see. So this is kind of the space. The space of the body is going to be, it's not going to be, I mean, this is like, we're abstracting a little bit here. So we're not doing a realistic owl. It's going to be, everything's a bit wobbly, but that's okay, because when you look at the final picture, it's going to be nice. And then I'm going to do a wing. And everything has a kind of round kind of egg shape, because they're all fitting into each other. So they've got to fit into these kind of circle pods. Beak. They've all got red eyes. They're all ready to pounce and kill.
Yeah, going berserk.
That's it. And then
they're hungry at night. Yeah.
They're hungry at night. That's it. Okay, and then the wings. I'm going to use a bit of brown. What I'm going to do is, I'll show you some color techniques. So I have a lot of these pencils that have these colors that I call them no-name colors. I mean, of course they have names, but who's going to remember this color's name? It doesn't have a, it doesn't, this is a like a olive brown beige, like it has this color. I love these colors because these are really good as background colors.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
It's a great little color, this one.
Great color, yeah. Just to give you a heads up, we can go over a little bit, but
a little bit, but not too much. Okay, I'll speed it up.
What do you got? 2 more animals?
I've got one more after this one.
Tiger.
The tiger, yeah, but we're just going to give, okay, so you can do a bit of like texture on the wing there. You can do some more coloring in. Okay, I'm going to
You could keep going with more animals, like maybe the owl's being eaten by a wolf and then the tiger eats that. But for now, because we've just given, you know, a time allotment this morning, we're going to finish with the tiger, but you could build on it. Yeah. Like here in the book. Do you remember that illustration that Felicita she shared on her presentation? That was the one that's in the original art show.
Yeah, the one with the tiger with all the animals. That one had a tiger with like all the animals just sort of sitting in its belly.
Sitting in the stomach. You're doing it like the lady who swallowed the fly, yeah. And I don't know why she swallowed a fly.
That's it.
That is a fun rhyme.
I love that book.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and I'm just going to free up the wing as well because I want to show the space underneath. Okay.
And often in our audience, although we have kids who love to do these workshops and hear the story, we sometimes have other aged participants who are interested in following along, fans of your work. And someone who's anonymous actually has written in another question saying that they're an artist and starting social media and wondered how you start to grow your audience. Because I guess that was quite key in the very beginning for you, but not quite with social media, right? Because you started more with selling your art, as we're talking about earlier in the 2000s. But then how did you get recognized by publishers? Was that through social media?
Yeah, so when I started out, it was about like I said, about 2010. I'm just on the side, I'm just making a background for the owl so he stands out more, a dark background. This is not the tiger, okay? I'm just sticking him to a dark blob, and then we're going to put this blob inside the tiger so it stands out nice and bright. So I started out in a time where there was no Instagram. Well, Instagram was just kind of beginning, maybe. People were starting to buy their first smartphones. And I'm so glad that there wasn't any social media. I can't imagine how hard it must be to start out and just already start comparing yourself to all these millions of people and their online presence. It must be really stressful. We just had blogs at the time, so blogs where you just post photos and stories about your process, and it was actually much calmer and more peaceful as a way of working.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, so I posted stuff on my blog, and then I think what got people's attention online, like, it was mainly through Pinterest and other blogs. They would repost my illustrated recipes. So I did a series of recipes that gained a lot of attention. I think like art directors from magazines started to see that, and then they reposted those. So it was just a matter of seeing something that they liked, reposting it, other people saw it, and then eventually an art director from a publisher saw it and called me or emailed me to do that first book I showed you, the polar bear book. But before that, I was just doing magazine, more magazine stuff. I'm going to just put this blob kind of here to the side, and then I'm going to work with this space. I'm going to draw a tiger in this space. I don't know how it's going to fit, but I'm going to, in this top right-hand corner, I'm going to draw like a big face. So I just draw with a light pencil, and then his ears here. Absolutely not a realistic tiger. It's not important. And I'm gonna
when you have the features of a tiger, the color and the stripes, we know immediately.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. Some feet.
This is so fascinating. Yeah, this is a great way of working, right? I'm sure everyone's having an amazing time. We definitely would love to see any illustrations that you create. Don't be shy. Send them in.
Oh my God, I wish we were all sitting around a giant table and I could just see what everyone's doing.
I know, right?
And then like when I do workshop with kids, sometimes they come up with the most interesting drawings and compositions, and I actually get a little bit jealous, especially when the kids are very small. They are completely, I don't know if you guys
very free. Yeah, very free.
Very free. They just do whatever they want, and they are very proud of it. Yeah. And I absolutely love that about children, and all of us adult illustrators, we envy the small children because they are the freest ones. I think I'm just going to give this tiger a beard.
Good. Yes.
Just because I didn't know what to do with that bit, so I just
And speaking to, you can continue drawing. I don't want to stop you from drawing. But I was just going to say, to continue that conversation about how you were, writing about and illustrating recipes. As you heard earlier, this is a passion. Cooking and food is what Felicita loves, and so therefore, you know, if you draw something that you're passionate about, you might really love cats, you might like dogs, you might like cooking, you might like sports, whatever it is that you are passionate about, you can be illustrating those things, and it shows in your work that you really are putting some special energy into it. You're not struggling with it like you would if you were drawing something you don't want to draw. So firstly, I think draw things that you're really interested in, that you enjoy. I would say that's a really good start, don't you think?
Absolutely. Yeah. Do stuff that you feel like you're good at, that you know, or you're just really passionate about. Maybe you're really into lizards and snakes, but you've never drawn them before. So you start by doing some research on lizards and snakes, and you start drawing them. And then I always think try and like, it's good to know, like, if you like to draw tigers, you start by drawing tigers from like books about tigers or pictures you download from the internet about tigers, and you start to copy them, seeing how they're made, like how their legs bend when they walk. Like horses are the worst. Their legs are so hard to draw. Animals can be really hard. And you start by doing stuff a bit more realistic, but then that's, you know, some people just stop there and they think it's really fun to draw things as they are, and that's great. I don't like that. I find that a bit boring. Like, I like to deform things and make them make them in a way that's fun for me.
Yes.
So I like this tiger. Like, the trick is how to make a tiger fit exactly into this rectangle, but also leave space for this owl. This is a great exercise also for adult illustrators who are struggling, breaking free a bit. Is like, give yourself a limit, because limits are what pushes you to do something differently.
Very good advice.
So these are my little stripes, and I'm going outside of the lines, because this tiger is not going to let himself be confined in a small space. He's about to break off the page. He's like, I don't like lively. Yeah. And then, so I'm not going to finish. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? And we can even just stop here, but I'm going to use some black ink. And you can do this with a colored pencil as well. But I want to have the tiger floating in a black space, because then, just to make him stand out, and then just
he'll pop. This is so inspiring. I know everyone is having an incredibly good morning watching you do this. Wow.
Oh yeah, it's morning for you guys, isn't it? It's
it's morning. Well, I don't know, maybe there are some participants joining from Italy. We didn't have so many people just got jumping straight into being fascinated with what they're watching rather than writing where they're from so much in the chat. But I do know that we have people joining from across the States, sometimes Canada, could be some from Italy, your fans from Italy. But we have repeat participants who just look forward to this monthly illustration program, where we have wonderful, beautiful books. This is such a beautiful book, and beautifully written by Donna Jo Napoli. Have you worked with her on any other books?
No, this was the first time. But we had like an email exchange while I was making the book. I wrote to her. I said, Donna, you need to tell me more about this book. Why did you write this story like this? It's not really a story. It's more like a poem. It's like a poem about the night, about wild. And she told me some some things that inspired her about these animals in Thailand, and then the poem about the tiger. And then, I mean, it was just really nice to see where she was coming from, to see like where I could go with it, because I just had a moment where I didn't really know what I was doing.
Yeah, it's amazing how you develop this incredibly vibrant, gorgeous, lively. It's so lively, the book. And you really feel like animals have gone wild in the night. Yeah, I mean, maybe some of that animation back in your past was also helpful, because you were making characters move, and somewhere, you never know how many things might start to just be an influence on your work when you sort of start working through the years. Maybe something that you did in the past will now be of great use to you. So it was so lovely to have you here this morning, and joining us from Rome. As you know, everyone, Rome now it's in the late afternoon. So you'll be getting ready for your delicious dinner.
Yeah,
Sure.
well, it's 5:30. It's too soon. It's 5:30. We got like afternoon
Oh
tea.
yes, it's a bit later. Sorry. Yeah. Well, yeah, soon, but not that soon. Like not in a
That's
minute.
it. That's I would love to see what everyone else came up with. I bet they're really awesome.
Yeah, please do send some things in, and I will share those with Felicita. And so we've got lots of thank yous. It was an awesome presentation. Thank you, everyone. I've got Cynthia and Sherry and Jinya, if I think I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Oh, from Santa Fe, New Mexico, we have Kat. And actually, Ginaire is from Minneapolis. Welcome, welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us. And I know you've had a wonderful time. If you definitely check out more books by Felicita, because they are stunning. And also, if you are in New York, please do see our original art show and see the original piece that she has in the show. It's up on our wall of fame, and you can't miss it. It's beautiful to see all the original artwork in person. You can really appreciate what goes into a picture book. You certainly learn how much thought process went into this book. So thank you very much for joining us, and have a wonderful Thanksgiving for us here in America, and wherever else you're in the world. Have a wonderful week ahead and a good weekend. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Thank you. Have a lovely rest of the year.
Yes, take care. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.